As I tell before to the ESPN, I give him the offer. If he's smart, he will accept it.
With Terence Crawford winning the intense fight against Israel Medvedev, His Excellency, Turki Alalshikh, has announced his motive to organize Crawford versus Canelo. Meanwhile, Bud, euphoric after this win, still admitted that this fight wasn't as simple as many thought, as Medvedev showed great resilience and vigor, which pushed the fight to 12 rounds. This is something new for him, as he usually disarms fighters in the earlier rounds.
A tough competitor. I knew he was going to be tough. Like I said, I knew all about him when I went to Uzbekistan, and they was telling me so much about him. He's real strong. He's durable. He took a lot of good shots, and he got me to...
After getting the job done, Crawford is now enthralled by the mere idea of fighting Canelo. According to him, he would accept any offer from any party unquestionably. However, knowing that Canelo has his priorities right now with his fight against Edgar Berlanga, Crawford stated that he is fine with standing by for now.
I say, if the money's right, we got to fight. But at the same time, you know, he got to fight, you know, that he's focused on. I'm going to go back to my family. I'm going to relax. I'm going to enjoy this win and enjoy all the accomplishments that
Although Terence won this fight, his abrupt jump from 147 to 154 was felt throughout the bout, which might have left some question marks in people's minds about Crawford moving up to 168 to fight off against Canelo, who poses a much more serious threat than Medvedev did. Terence, being somewhat aware of this himself, reflected on how even though he fought Medvedev at 154, the Uzbek fighter had the robustness of someone at 160. So it is not that outlandish for him to go against Canelo at 168, as this will be another landmark for him to attain in his path of greatness. He stated, "I'm pretty sure he can fight at 160. This guy Medvedev is big in the minors. He fought at a higher weight than he is now. It's not so important to me to fight Canelo. It's just another milestone to greatness and financially wise, with Terence on board with this idea." His Excellency, Turki Alalshikh, has once again reiterated his desire to orchestrate a match between Bud and Canelo, claiming to have sent a formal letter to the Mexican fighter to consider it with his team.
As I tell before to the ESPN, I give him the offer. If he's smart, he will accept it.
Turki also explained his backup plan to fight Virgil Ortiz in case Canelo does not take up the offer, which might be a more suitable match for Terence at this stage, given the almost non-existent weight difference and a history of callouts by Ortiz. Turki stated, "If Canelo doesn't, I want Ortiz. If they accept, we want to see this fight." In his post-fight conference, Terence also addressed all the accusations directed at him for not being a marketable fighter, stating that the opulence he garnered from this event was enough to prove that the animosity directed towards him is nothing but politics. Regardless of all the hate, most of the fans in the arena came to see him, and now, with His Excellency's support, he is getting what he always strived for. Terence stated, "They were switching up the narrative because they were loyal to a certain promotional company, but I didn't care. We are here now. Everything happened for a reason, and if you look around, I'm the last man standing, and I was the one that they were talking so bad about." On the other hand, fans and boxing pros from all around the world have conveyed varying emotions after the conclusion of this event, with most being content with the outcomes of seeing their favorite boxers in action, while others are pointing out the disparities in the scoring of the fights. This was something initiated by none other than Eddie Hearn. Dissatisfied with the scores of 116-112, Eddie proclaimed that though it was not an outright robbery, it was still an offense to score a fighter like Medvedev like this, despite his stellar performance, showing the biased nature of the judges.
It's a waste of time. It's not a 116-112 fight. He was in the fight. He's coming into the fight as the champion. But because he's fighting Terence Crawford, he doesn't get a shake. All of the effective punches were coming from Israel Madrimov. Crawford had a good flurry in, I think, the last 10th round. It was a super close fight. I believe when you come into that ring as champion, you got to take the belt off that champion. Terence Crawford didn't do that. And I love him. He's brilliant. But for me, he deserves to be champion tonight. It was a fight that could have gone either way. And then you hear the scorecards, and it's like a why'd you...
Eddie commented on the general performance displayed by Terence and called it insufficient for a pound-for-pound champion, emphasizing that despite being the underdog from the start, Medvedev put substantial effort into this fight to prove everyone wrong.
Real Madrimov did enough to edge it tonight. I know there's always the argument of dethroning the champion, whether you think that's a thing or not. You know, I'm not sure I felt that Bud Crawford dethroned Israel Madrimov tonight, but what we are is extremely proud of him. 10 fights in, and we're debating whether he won a fight against the pound-for-pound.
His views about the potential match between Canelo and Crawford, Eddie looked doubtful about Canelo accepting this offer while bashing Crawford, stating how he had an issue against a fighter at 154. So for him to think about going to 168 and fighting a reigning champion sounds preposterous. Eddie stated, "I think it's much too much weight for Terence, and you know people will say it was a poor performance from Terence, but let's just say it was a great performance from Medvedev. But I think 168 is much too big for Terence. But like I said, if the money's right, he'll fight. Sharing the same sentiments about the supposed justice that took place, Mediev's trainer, Joel Diaz, expressed his frustration about the decision, calling it pre-planned and a corrupt move. Despite Mediev dominating in most of the rounds, Joel also drew comparisons between this fight and the bout between Errol Spence Jr. and Mikey Garcia, concluding how, despite his fighter giving everything, the opponent won just because he moved up to 154 to fight a champion in that division.
We can yell at the war and say a rematch, but they won't give. I mean, everything. Remember, when we walk into this fight, it was a lose-lose for us and a win-win for him. Right now, even though people say, "Oh, Israel won the fight," everything goes to Crawford. Why? Because he took the risk, moving a higher division, and went 12 rounds with a 154-pounder. You know, I've seen it before. I saw it with Mikey Garcia.
Despite this continuing onslaught from Eddie and Mediev's coaches, Crawford's team has expressed their satisfaction with this performance. Crawford's coach, Back, appeared quite elated by this performance and stated how, if the proper time and opportunity appeared before them, they would take the Canelo fight and they would facilitate Crawford in his pursuit. He stated, if the money's right, he can go up there and do his thing. I believe that I and the coaches can put a game plan together to beat Canelo, knowing about the sheer scale of the fights and the debut of the Riyadh season in America. It's no wonder that this was a star-studded event. From well-known boxing analysts to the most prominent fighters, everyone had a lot to say about this historic win for Crawford, making him a 4-time boxing world champion. Mike Tyson, an acclaimed former boxer who recently decided to come out of retirement to face the YouTuber-turned-boxer Jake Paul later this year in November in a highly awaited fight, stated how this fight was anything but effortless, as both boxers engaged in an outright battle. He stated, it was a tough fight. Also thinking it to be a tough fight, Caleb Plant, an American professional boxer, thought that this fight was very hard to deconstruct, and judges both the boxers fought valiantly till the end, with Terence leading in the later rounds by using his notable ability to switch stances. Caleb stated, this was hard to judge. Some of those early rounds lacked a lot of back-and-forth action, so in those early rounds, it was hard for me to tell. I did think Terence won the 12th round. He further added, I thought it was a close fight, but I thought Terence did enough to pull out the victory with him winning the last round nonetheless. Caleb expressed his opinions about the probable fight between Bud and Canelo, stating how at this moment, this might not be the right initiative taken by Bud, as he is a bit rusted after he took extensive time off from fighting professionally, which was quite evident during his fight against Mediev. Having faced off against Canelo way back in 2021 during his prime, Caleb disclosed how Canelo is a very adept fighter who can be quite a challenge for fighters like Terence, who despite being world champions, might be slacking off due to their age. He stated he's got some attributes that Canelo has: his explosiveness, his power, but he still has a different style than Canelo, so styles make fights. I feel like if Terence could get a little more busy, a little more active, it could do him better. Also thinking that Terence might have gotten a little rusty over the years. Teofimo Lopez shared his take on the fighter, saying how, for the level that Terence is at and the experience that he possesses, he should not have undergone this much travail against a relatively inexperienced fighter who has only shined during amateur fights. Lopez, who has expressed his desire to fight with Terence countless times in the past with incessant callouts after his comeback earlier this year, might be reconsidering his plans for this fight after witnessing the not-so-stellar performance displayed by Terence in this fight.
Shouldn't be getting hit like that with a guy that has only 11 pro fights. You shouldn't be having that much of difficulty with a guy that only has 11 pro fights.
Now, before the fight took place, there were countless claims that Terence would easily overpower the young Uzbek fighter and might even get a win by stoppage, but with this outcome of the fight, a wave of uncertainty has arisen regarding the fact that Terence might not be ready to move to 168 to confront a fighter such as Canelo, who surpasses Mediev based on skills and experience. Mediev, who appeared dejected by the outcome of the fight, stated how, even though he might have his differences with the overall decision of the judges, one thing that he cannot overlook is that Terence exhibited immaculate skills for someone who fought at 154 for the very first time. But despite this, even Mediev looked uncertain about Terence moving to 168 to go against Canelo.
There's no doubt he has power. There's no doubt he has skills. I knew that, and that's why this fight was so close.
Being on the same page that Crawford should reconsider his idea to move to 168, Teddy Atlas, a renowned boxing coach and analyst, emphasized that Crawford should take some time off before he considers moving on to another weight class. Commenting on the fight, Teddy thought that though Medvedev fought valiantly against a fighter of far more experience and displayed great sportsmanship and refused to give up until the end, it was still not enough to score a win against Crawford, who is a master of switching stances and adaptability. Teddy stated, "It was a terrific fight, a controlled fight, a smart fight, a very contained fight, and a very disciplined fight. It was a fight that made Crawford prove himself as he had a real fighter on his hands, but Crawford showed us how special he is." Shakur Stevenson, who has a relatively pleasant bond with Terence, appeared delighted by this victory, emphasizing that this was not as close as people were making it out to be, as Bud dominated the fight regardless of Medvedev's countless endeavors to stop him. However, Shakur still applauded the young fighter for standing his ground against a world champion. Shakur stated, "I ain't going to say it was close, but Medvedev came and put up a good fight. I've been telling people I thought Medvedev was a talented fighter. He's smart, he got a great amateur career, and he was really patient moving forward, noticing the very contrasting styles between Medvedev and Terence's possible next opponent, Canelo." Shakur pointed out the stark contrast between the fighting styles of the two fighters. According to Shakur, Canelo is more agile and fast, whereas Medvedev appears to be a bit wobbly, which might be something to take note of. Shakur said, "It's different styles, different styles make fights. Canelo is more flat-footed, whereas Medvedev is more awkward and weird in and out. They have different styles." Forever Bud supporter and compadre, Shakur gave his viewpoint that though many people might think that Crawford is no match for someone like Canelo, especially at 168, Terence is insistent on establishing his reputation, and he is committed to it. So he would fight anyone who stands in his way. Shakur added, "I think Bud could do anything that he put his mind to, so I think Bud is the GOAT, and I stand by that." Another notable boxer who was present during the fight was Vasyl Lomachenko, who has been quite the center of attention these days after announcing that he won't partake in any fight this year, presumably ditching noteworthy offers from Devin Haney and Shakur Stevenson. When asked about his outlook on this fight, Lomachenko stated that this was a very exhilarating fight, during which it was very hard to decide the winner at times. He stated, "It was a very close fight, but it was a very interesting fight and a very smart fight." In spite of all this praise, Lomachenko appeared dissatisfied with the results, commenting that Medvedev tried to give his best in this match, given that he was the champion of this weight division. But according to Lomachenko, this result might be synonymous with the controversial result of his fight against Devin Haney.
No, it's, how about compare my fight with Haney? Madrimov was a champion.
Yeah.
So it's enough for win the title.
With the appearance of almost everyone in the boxing industry, some unforeseen people were also present in the audience, with the most notable one being none other than Devin Haney, who made his first public appearance after the whole debacle with Ryan Garcia went down. However, allegedly not quite engrossed by the fight, he decided to leave mid-fight, shocking many spectators. But before Devin could leave the arena, he revealed his thoughts about the fight, stating that Crawford was in charge of the fight from the very start, and that no matter the circumstances, he would have easily taken over any fighter.
Is he winning clearly? Yeah. This Madrimov putting up a good fight, right? Yeah, he's putting up a good fight. So I'm yeah. Do you think Crawford looks good at 154 so far? Yeah. Crawford, the weight is showing, but
just like Shakur stated, that if a matchup between Terence and Canelo is ever announced in the near future, the result of that fight will be in Terence's favor, as it is an indisputable fact that Terence is the most distinguished pound-for-pound fighter of this era that will be 2 more weights up, based on where he comes in, like 160. Crawford, on the other hand, is not everyone on Terence's side, as Devin's past opponent and lately the most controversial fighter, Ryan Garcia, wasted no time and came forward to voice his displeasure about the fight. Having a history of slandering the authorities, Ryan blasted the judges for the choice that they made in Terence's favor. Ryan commended Medvedev for his tenacious fighting spirit throughout the fight and also compared the young fighter to the boxing legend Gennady Golovkin, saying that this extraordinary performance at least deserved a draw, but that he was snubbed by the prejudiced judges. He stated, "Shout out to young Triple G. He did his best. I felt like he won the fight. At least a draw would have been fine, but the judges are weirdos. You guys in Crawford, you're not pound for pound, you never fought anybody good." Shutting down any possibility for Crawford to have any chance against Canelo, Ryan stated how, though he might be pound for pound #1 and world champion in 4 divisions, Terence is nowhere near the same caliber as Canelo. He stated, "Crawford is trash. Don't ever compare Crawford to Canelo again." Looking at the performance shown by both fighters, one thing that many people noticed was the sluggishness that was initially displayed by Terence in the earlier rounds, which might be due to him being away from the ring for a substantial time, and coming back to fight a champion for the very first time at 154 lbs. But despite this, Bud Crawford still persevered until the end and gained some momentum, especially during the last 4 rounds of the fight, which shifted the tide of the fight in Terence's favor. Zab Judah, a former professional boxer and welterweight world champion, pondered the fact that despite the popular opinion of this fight being a very close one, and that the decision was partial, the ultimate call from the judges was unprejudiced. And Terence was able to set some pace from the get-go, which went in his favor till the end.
Was it too wide? No. No? Was it too close?
No, I mean, listen, we witnessed Bud again tonight in a spectacular fashion. He came out with control. He controlled the fight right from the distance. Every time Magimov would jump, he tried to jump in, try to make something happen, he popped him, slow it down. He kept the fight, he kept great distance, he threw great combinations when...
Zab remarked on the exceptional adaptability that was portrayed by Crawford in this match against Mediev's powerful right hand, calling it an astonishing trait that not only creates an atmosphere of intimidation for the opposition, but also helps him in fighting against any opponent with any style possible. He stated, "This is what great fighters do. They know how to adjust their style to any style that they put against you. You might give him a quick fight. Next time he might come out with a whole other game plan." Zab went on to comment on Crawford going against Canelo next, stating how it is not something out of the ordinary for the 36-year-old fighter, as he has spoken many times about his intention of moving forward and looking at the attributes that he has garnered over the years as a professional fighter. There is no doubt that this would not be an effortless fight.
I think if anything, it lets Team Canelo know and people in the world know that knows boxing, that Terence Bud Crawford has skills.
Yeah.
He has skills and he can fight with any kind of style.
Mike Coppinger, a famous boxing reporter, gave his diplomatic take on this fight, stating that the final decision made by the judges depends mostly on their preferences of which style they appreciate more. Giving some clarity, Mike stated that it was a very shrewd fight where neither fighter tried to make any move that was out of the ordinary, as it might have gone against them. With this lack of any nifty fighting styles, judges made the choice depending on the basic styles that they observed. Mike stated, "It was a very tactical fight, and neither guy seemingly wanted to take any chances, as I think they both felt the other's power." He added, "Neither guy was really throwing combinations. Crawford had a superior jab, but Mediev did cleaner, harder shots, so I think it's really what the judges liked. I think the judges did a pretty good job, but it could have gone either way." Giving his opinion on Crawford going up to 168 to fight Canelo, Mike seemed skeptical of this choice, stating that after this performance, it might be more appropriate for Crawford to fight some other fighters in lighter weight classes and gradually make his way up to fight Canelo. He said, "I am not saying anything is impossible, but after this performance, at least I want to see a couple more fights from Crawford. Maybe at 154 or 160, before we can even discuss a Canelo Alvarez fight." So, in the end, what do you guys think about the outcome of this? Is the judgment fair, or should Mediev have won? Tell us about your thoughts in the comments below, and if you like this video, make sure to subscribe to our channel.